Hello.
Hey,
Hey, can you see me?
I can see you. Can you see and hear me?
I can hear you. Sometimes the video doesn't pick up right away, but that's okay. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm present.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. So I was just introing a little bit of our connection. So JB, as we call her lovingly, essentially has been a part of my life since my kids, since Price was probably what, 3, 4? I can't remember now. But she's been a very, or had always a very heavy presence in my life and my kids' life, particularly as a dance coach and teacher. And Price has transitioned along with her to her new company, Breathe Studio. And so she, during the pandemic, do you remember this,
Yes,
JB? You were with us during that, like,
yes.
homeschool from home
Homeschool.
situation.
Yes.
Listen, couldn't have survived without her. So, so I'm glad she's always been a part of the family, and so I want to, always support her and what she's doing. And I was telling them a little bit about your journey to this new realm that you're in, as
Yeah.
far as advocacy and education. So why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got into sexual health?
Yes. My road to sexual health honestly came from temporarily working for the Department of Health and Human Services during the pandemic.
Mhm.
I actually worked in teen pregnancy prevention, and that just kind of sparked something in me like, man, people really need to know about this kind of stuff. How can I get into this? So I just
Mhm.
started doing some research, and I found I found ICE, which is Institute for Sexual and Education and Enlightenment, and I found them and did some research, and they actually have a BIPOC scholarship. And so I applied for the scholarship, and I was telling my family like, "Hey, I applied. We're going to see what happens." And boom, I got a full ride.
Of
So,
course.
oh, thanks, Doc.
Of course.
Yeah. So from there, I've been taking classes for 2 years. I've graduated in December, and now that I'm certified, I'm really trying to put the knowledge that I gained into good use. Whether it's just talking to my friends, talking to the young ladies that I work with, whether it's at Breathe or at Hillside, and not being a gatekeeper, making sure that I am definitely given the knowledge that I worked so hard to gain. So that's kind of
Yes.
how I got into it, honestly.
I love it. I love it. And you advocated for yourself. You were like, look, I'm doing this. This is something that's, that really is important to me. I want to get out and tell people about it and speak about
Right.
it. So I love that you're putting yourself out there. I know you started your separate social media pages,
Yes.
just to specifically focus on that. And you're wanting to do, speaking and workshops. And
Yes.
so you're really about
Yeah.
it. And I love it. I love it for you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I'm trying to put that in the universe. Learn some things and say it out loud that this is what I hope to do. So I
absolutely.
appreciate you giving me this platform. I know we talked and boom, you know what I'm saying? You standing on business. Ain't it what people say?
I
And I
tried. That's
appreciate
right.
that.
Hey
Yes.
Kim, I see Kim
Hey,
joined. You
Kim.
had one of your friends on here was like, "That's my best friend." So you got your friends in here. So let's start off with a couple of statistics. So I went and kind of did a little bit of background research just to look at like the current trends that are happening, particularly with our lack of sexual health. Like we in general as a people, as the human race, we never do that great.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
big fella. Hey big fella.
Hey, Mr.
Um we
President.
never do a great job. Huh?
Hey, Mr.
Huh?
President.
Yeah. Right. Um, we don't always do a great job with protecting our health in any realm, and specifically when it comes to protecting ourselves from any sexually transmitted thing. So, I'm big on trying to keep people healthy, protect them from getting all these diseases that we have absolute control over. It's one thing if you're like born with type 1 diabetes, or you're born with a genetic predisposition to high blood pressure, or unfortunately a certain type of cancer runs in the family that you can't really prevent or control. These types of diseases and infections and things that happen to us, we absolutely have control over this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Big time. Big time.
So, but we've never done a good job with protecting ourselves for some reason. I
Right.
don't know what it is. It can be an addiction just like any other substance. But
Exactly.
I went back and took look at some of the emerging data from last year. And I think in 2023, of course, they kind of go back to 2020,
Mhm.
when the pandemic started. And I just wanted to kind of see the trends over the last couple of years with STIs is what we
Mhm.
call them
Yeah,
now instead of STDs.
and I can
But
appreciate that.
STIs, yes.
Yes, STI.
But but let me, and actually, we may poll the audience here, give them a little bit of trivia. So, what do y'all think, particularly when between the years of 2020 and 2023, what is the number one STI that we're dealing with now?
Mm.
Y'all put it in the comments.
Yeah,
What's number one?
get some
There's a,
guesses.
there's a whole lot of stuff out there that you can catch, unfortunately, but one always leads
Always
the
leaves
whole
the
bunch.
pack.
hmm So what do y'all think? Let's see if people can guess some. And then there's, as y'all are thinking about that, think of
STI that we're
what.
dealing with. Oh, sorry. I'm doing too much, Doc. Keep
What?
going. My bad.
Keep
My
my
bad.
focus. Somebody said GCN. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, good guess. That's not it. I don't know. It might not be fair. My doctor friend got it. Dr. Kendra. Dr. Kendra, she probably knew this. She got it right. Chlamydia.
Chlamydia. Yeah. Yeah.
Good old clap. Still around.
And
And we
clapping.
can't fi- and we can't figure out how not to get it. It's like we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all. But y'all name some other very important ones. HPV is an important one. Gonorrhea clearly is an important one. But number one, almost always, is
It's
chlamydia.
chlamydia.
And it actually rose throughout these last years during the pandemic.
Mm. Not surprised.
What were y'all doing? Why?
But
Why do you think?
people were bored. I mean, let's just, we're going to be transparent about what was going on during that time.
What was
People
happening?
were bored. People didn't have anything really to do, and they was clapping cheeks.
Somebody said
And
clap, stay clapping.
that's my sister.
Yes.
That's my sister.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think because it was so high is we weren't out living our outdoor lives like we were doing. We spent so much time at home with our significant others if we have one. And so people would just, well, I guess I'll do this since we're here. And I
But
mean, that
then,
is true.
and I understand that, but why not protect yourself? So if you're going to, if you're going to stay clapping,
Hmm.
why are we not protecting ourselves? What is this that we have against protecting ourselves, or going and get checked, going to get your checks and making sure that your labs are
Yeah.
good before moving on to the next partner, or before, as you're dealing with your partners? What is it? Is it a stigma? Like, what is it?
I always say this is taboo. There is still this thought around, oh, if I'm not showing any symptoms, I'm good. And I don't think people realize that you can carry something, as we noticed with COVID, and not show any symptoms. You know what I'm saying? So if you are switching between partners, you should be getting checked, if not every 3 months, every 6 months, it just depends. Just for your own clarity. You kind of
That's right.
want to be a good human to other humans, and just by knowing your status before you get out here, hanging from shower rods and ceiling fans. Before you get out here and get, exploratory, check yourself.
Chandeliers, all that.
Chandeliers, check oneself. So I think it starts with you. You also have to want that knowledge for yourself before you get out here and get the clapping. Yeah.
That's right. But I mean, have some agency about oneself,
Mhm.
have some pride,
Mhm.
protect your
Mhm.
temple. If we're going to be out here sharing ourselves with others, and we need to make sure, Kim said, not swinging on shower
I
rods,
know.
Do what you do. Just,
Do what you
just be
do.
safe.
Be
Be
safe.
safe, right? So
Yeah.
like you mentioned, get your labs and your checkups done. Don't just wait for your one time a year annual checkup to be getting tested for all the things. If you know
Right.
that you are an active person, you may want to go every 3 to 6 months just to be
Mhm.
safe, right? I
Right.
agree.
Right.
Yes, condoms
Still
still
exist.
exist, people.
I mean, and there's different types,
Tell
different
us.
textures. Play around with those things. If you are sensitive, I actually had someone ask me like, "Hey, I'm dealing with someone, they're allergic to, the
Latex.
latex. What can I use? And I'm just like, oh, they made lamb skin. So come on.
It's still out there.
It's
That's
still
right.
out there. Yes. I mean,
Sheepskin.
sheepskin. So all of the skins are there. Just there's really no excuse.
Skin.
Just pick a skin, go with it, trial and error.
That's
Trial
right. But
and
protect
error.
yourself. There's no reason why we should not be protected. We have enough knowledge. We have enough medicine. We have enough technology
Yes.
that there's no reason, there's no excuse. There really is no excuse. And ladies, when it comes, we don't want to put blame on one or
Hmm.
another, you know, gender, sex, whatever. Protect yourself.
Yes.
So don't leave it, so if you have a male partner, don't always hang the responsibility on them to bring what they need to the table. You have your own supply.
Yes.
Here, I got them in
Oh,
different
you don't have
flavors and
one, Stacy?
textures.
You don't have one? I have a plethora here that you can choose from. And you
You
know
pull
what?
out your drawer.
Pull out your drawer, have it all nice
Yes,
and lined up, color coordinated, however you need to have it. That is that's a powerful thing. That is a powerful
you take control of
thing.
it. You take
Yes.
control. And if they are against using things that would make you feel comfortable and feel protected, it's your body. You don't have
Right.
to allow them to have,
Access.
access to your body either.
Exactly.
Right? All
Exactly.
right.
Doc said it,
I got
y'all.
another.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I got another trivia question. So again, did my research over the last couple of years to see that number one, STIs are still a huge problem. Number two, the numbers are still rising, which is crazy. Even though we know more now than we've ever known about protecting ourselves and treating ourselves, numbers are going up. What Another thing that I found surprising are, there are some new things, some new kids on the block, right? So we're not just talking about HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia. We're talking about some new stuff. So
Mhm.
what's one of the newer STIs that we now have to think about when we talk about protecting ourselves? Y'all put the
What y'all
put the
think?
answers in the comments.
Yeah, what y'all think?
Something that you might even think about
Right.
nowadays, right? But it's like we gotta worry about
That
that
too?
too. Yes, you do.
I didn't even know what that was. I'd
Right,
be
right. So what's one of the new
surprised.
kids on the block? Y'all think your sister said is laughing when I said pick a skin. That's right.
Yeah, that's
You have
it.
or
Pick a
who was
skin.
that?
That's
Aurea,
my god sister
Aurea.
as well. Look at that. My people are out here. Yes.
Okay. HPV. That's a good guess. There's an even newer one. Think vaccine. Although HPV is a good guess too because it also has a vaccine. But think
Hmm.
one of the newer vaccines that came out recently. What are we thinking? As y'all thinking about that, I'm gonna ask JB what her thought is about why the South is number one. We are number one in terms of catching these diseases and not protecting ourselves. Why do you think the South is a problem?
Let me make sure, because I'm from the South. I've been in the
Yeah,
South.
as am I.
South is what I do. But I think primarily in the South is because we kind of get complacent, and there is this level again going back to getting checked, especially for our men. Our men aren't getting checked as often, so they're like going from partner to partner, and then the women, we're not taking the autonomy to just know your status, and that goes past kind of like what you said, past HIV, past chlamydia, past gonorrhea, just knowing your status. So I think, ultimately, we're just not in a space of this is something that I usually do. Not to
Mhm.
mention there's religious reasons.
Tell let's
People.
let's yeah, your sister mentioned Bible Belt. So tell me, so what's your thought? Why would the South be more religious, be associated with more disease?
So
How
think
does that
about
make sense?
it. So I'm gonna go back to when I was in DHHS. So they were kind of trying to preach abstinence
Right.
to like young kids. I was not in agreement with that, as seeing that we all know when you tell a child not to do something, they're going to do it. And once they get to a level where they can do it more frequently and often, that's going to happen. So I believe that we get, I'm saying we because very general, get wrapped up in what we have been taught in our religions, and then forget about the human part altogether.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it still boils down to, we all hear it. I'm gonna just pray it away, or I'm gonna pray through it, go away, and things like that. So again, going back to getting tested, and we don't talk
Yeah,
about it here. It's still so taboo to talk about sex, and not like with your teenager or your youth or whatnot. Just in general, just in regular conversation, it's taboo to
right.
say what you've done, what you've experienced, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think we got to get out of that too. We got to start making sex something that is discussed, you know,
That's
of
a good
course,
point.
age appropriately, but something that is discussed because it's out here, and it's out here on
Clearly.
TikTok, it's on social media everywhere, so we can't run from it.
No, no, we just got an email from my kids' schools. They're both considered middle school now, in the grades that they're in. And the principal was so cute. She was like, we're going to be out of school on this day, and we're having check-ins and exams on this day. And oh, by the way, have a conversation with your kids about keeping their hands to themselves. And I was like, what does that mean?
I like how she dropped
And then
that
I
in
talked
there.
keep your hands
Keep
to you.
your hands
So I talked
to
to my kids, and
yourself.
they were like, yeah, there's been some people trying to touch people, and I mean, consensually, apparently. And I was just like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yep,
It's starting. We got to
it's
have these
starting.
conversations.
It's starting. And I think with the conversation, parent, and I'm not a parent, but I feel parentish,
Mm-hmm.
like parent adjacent a little bit. I mean, we
Yeah.
kind of have to get out of our own, we got to get out of our own ways because it's so
Mm-hmm.
different. And I think about my sex talk and how it frightened me. And
Mm-hmm.
then like having the knowledge now and being older, it's just like, oh, it wasn't as bad as you made it seem. So,
Well,
just
thankfully,
again,
also you had sense. It sounds like you were a smart kid. You had
yes,
sense,
like,
so
oh,
hopefully you were able to protect
let
yourself.
me
But
figure this
not all these children
out.
have sense.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, but let me get back to my question. So no one put the answer out. The probably the newest kid on the block that we now have to be concerned about, unfortunately, when it comes to STIs, is monkeypox.
Yep.
Monkeypox. Thankfully, there is a vaccine. There was a lot of stigma attached to it because I think
Hmm.
when it first came out, it was stigmatized as kind of the homosexual, just like
Hmm.
HIV was when it first came out, the homosexual virus, and it was really taboo to talk about. But thankfully, hopefully, we've become much more comfortable in talking about it and protecting ourselves and getting
Hmm.
the vaccine if needed and all of that. So let's see, we had a good comment from one of your friends. I think it said the conversation can make LGBTQ plus youth feel even more isolated because they're usually based on heterosexuality.
Yes,
Good
a
point.
lot of things
Good
are very
point.
much heteronormative. We
Ah,
definitely do not, and that's kind of another reason why I wanted to get into it because everything sexually is based on male, female. That's literally what it's based on. But
got you.
clearly, think we are evolving, and sex education evolves literally every day, and
Mhm.
it's including LGBTQIA youth and adults. Like adults are still navigating these waters as well. So just imagine what someone between the ages of 8 and 16 still trying to figure it out while going through puberty and while adjusting to school and
Yeah,
all of these other things. So just having, again, this is why education is so important.
good point. Good point. Is there still sex ed happening in school? I
Nope.
didn't think so.
Nope. But that's where I'm trying to get. So I was talking to my homegirl who's a social worker. She worked at the school that I used to teach at. We're trying to get
Mhm.
me in to maybe do like a 6-week thing. So keep your eyes peeled about
Mhm.
that. That might be something we can do. But I asked a lot of people, like, did you get this in school? Did you get this? And honestly, my sex ed was like health. And I don't even remember if we even said the word sex, to be honest with you.
Right.
I don't
I
even know
think,
if we
yeah, I think it was
did.
called health. It wasn't even called sex ed. It was called health class.
Health. Yep.
Right. And you learned about
Yep.
anatomy, which is great. So, female anatomy, male anatomy. You learned about fertility and how a baby is made.
Yep.
And that was essentially it.
Hmm.
maybe a little bit about hygiene,
Yes, and maybe about
and
hygiene.
menstruation a little bit, but we didn't talk about safe sex. We didn't, and mostly I can remember when it was controversial because some of the parents didn't want it to include talks about sex and contraception and
Mm.
things that would protect you from disease. I can remember, again, in the Bible Belt, I was in
Yep.
South Carolina, for the most part, and a lot of people didn't want their children to talk about that in school. That's that's for the
Yeah, and
house
that's still
and that's for
a
church.
thing.
Yeah,
That is still a thing. And I think sex ed is again more than just sex. It is
yeah.
healthy relationships, whether romantic or platonic. It is healthy touch and safe touch, and it's peer pressure. It is
Mm.
like consent, and like I'm really really big on consent, primarily with Black and brown men, because I feel as though Black and brown men have not been giving the space to consent to certain things. I think it is
Mm.
just this stigma of, oh, I'm a man, and so boom, I'm supposed to be getting it, and all women's supposed to be touching on me, and all of this kind of thing. And yes, like Max said, I learned about enthusiastic consent, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Tell
But
me about that. Yeah, tell me more
so
about that.
it's almost like, I hate to say it like this, if I am not able to necessarily say no, but like my body language might give you the thought of, oh, maybe you into this. Like you're not saying no, you just kind of leaning into it a little bit. So my body is giving you the enthusiastic consent, but that I
Mhm.
didn't verbally tell you no. So I think teaching that to people, teaching overall, if you don't hear a verbal no, that means no. Like that means no.
Mm.
Like do not assume people's body language. Consent is verbal and nonverbal.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I know with, young ladies or vulva carrying bodies, you hear that a lot. Don't let people do this to you. You tell them, no, this is your space.
Yeah.
But with like my male friends, they don't hear that. You don't hear Black men say, you know what, my people always told me that this is my boundary. You don't really hear that
Wow.
a lot.
That's interesting. You're right.
Yeah,
Right.
with Black men. And I've learned that over the many years, and I'm so shocked when I hear it, but it's the real thing.
That's absolutely right. I mean, because again, we follow societal standards. We've all been socialized in a particular way. You're right. Girls are
Hmm.
taught to keep their bodies clean and pristine, and if you don't want anyone to touch you, then you voice that no
Yes,
means
no
no,
means
and
no. Hmm.
but what conversation do you have with guys? You're absolutely right. So I
Yep.
love that conversation would be something that we would have more often with men. And I think now, as a parent, so if I come across another child, I have two girls, so friends that have sons or nephews and smaller kids that I may come into contact with, I try to be cognizant of that. I try
Mm.
not to be the auntie that will run up and give me a hug and, snatch kids up, like, give me a kiss. They
Uh-huh.
may not,
They may not want to.
yeah, you may. Is it okay if we hug, or can we? Oh, you okay? Just shake hand.
Hmm.
You want kids to feel comfortable to have agency over their bodies, and you're right.
Exactly.
We have to treat everyone equally.
Exactly.
Have the conversation with all of them. You're absolutely
Yes.
right. Your sister said it's not when a person asks for consent or asks what's comfortable. Yeah,
Hmm.
we have to. Everyone needs to feel comfortable. I love
Everyone
it.
needs to feel comfortable. And I think that's a conversation like with parents. Kids have agency, like whether they're, you know, 3 or 13.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't want to hug Uncle Junebug,
Hmm.
and you don't want to give Grandma Nancy a hug or
Hmm.
kiss. You don't
And
want to do
sometimes
that.
it's for good reason.
And
They
it's
can
just,
pick up on stuff.
you
They're
might want
like,
to listen to that. They listen to your kids when they like, I get a vibe from that, and
right,
I just don't like it. And
right.
we
Yeah.
talk about vibes and energy a lot, so we have to make sure we give children that same respect. They feel
Yep.
it too.
Yep. Allow them the space, give them that, I don't know, I guess permission to listen to more of that intuition.
Exactly.
You feel that feeling in your gut, listen to
Exactly.
that.
Listen to that.
That's your spiritual man telling you
Okay.
what's really
Tapping you
going
on that
on.
shoulder, telling you
Hmm.
something. So I 100% agree with that.
tap into that. So now I'm intrigued. So if you were to go into schools and teach that 6-week course, what type of things would you include? So we would definitely talk about consent.
Definitely talk about
What
consent.
else?
Definitely talk about peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because I think we get a lot of we get a lot of pressure from our friend groups. Especially at that age, you feel the need to catch up to everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
especially if everyone else is doing something you haven't quite made it to that point. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to get involved in those conversations so that peer pressure is there, even if it's not there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like you can feel it internally. So definitely the peer pressure, consent, healthy relationships, romantic and platonic,
Yeah.
because sometimes we think healthy is only with who you're dating, but that's also with people that you call your dog and people you call my good sis. What type of relationship, what does that look like? Is this healthy?
Right.
And
Or is it toxic?
is it toxic? Exactly. Like calling it out early. You know, I think we all kind of learned what toxic traits were a little late, but never too late. But you know what I'm saying? It's always good to maybe start earlier because what Whitney say, children are the future. So we need to make sure that they are set up for greatness.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Um, so those are really the three big things.
Mm-hmm.
Not really getting so much into when you have sex, but definitely if you don't want to, I preach that a lot, especially to my girls. If you don't want to, you don't have to at all.
Mm-mm.
You know,
At
like
all.
at all. Like don't ever feel the need. But I know parents probably think sex ed, I'm going to be talking about what goes where and what does what with what. No, not necessarily.
That's your
You know
job.
what I'm saying? But yeah, that's your job. I'm here to help, you know, but it's a brave space. Like a sex education will create a brave space for kids to ask those questions that they might not want to ask mom and dad just yet. But
Absolutely.
they saw it on a video. You know, you never know what they're talking about.
Ooh,
You never know what kids
child.
are talking about.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
I listen, so both of our kids have phones now, which, we were, I don't know if we were forced into that that decision. But I felt it was appropriate. I felt the maturity level was at a certain point I could trust, and we have all kinds of rules and restrictions and all that. But they have friends, and
Hmm.
friends
Hmm.
sometimes pass information around that you don't necessarily want your child to hear or see, but it's out there. It's
Exactly.
out there. No, my children, right? No, my children are not on social media, but their friends are,
Right.
right? And so we have to monitor that, and you have to have those conversations
Yeah.
early now, or earlier than we ever
Earlier.
did, because we didn't have access to that stuff, right?
Exactly.
So these are very important conversations to be having. Let's
Hmm.
see. Better to teach them about what they are seeing so they understand much of that is fake or unrealistic. That's great. That's a
Yeah,
great a great point.
I had this thought about like I have this thing about pornography as far as like learning, like the literacy behind it. And I really think when it comes to like websites, instead of it saying like, instead of the parental advisory, it needs to say more like this is for entertainment purposes only.
Mm,
Because people are literally taking what they see these actors and actresses
and
do and trying to
thinking
do
that's
them
real life.
and thinking that, that's how this goes. And I think if there's, we have a disclaimer for everything else. This is for entertainment purposes only. We got to tell Facebook this music was for inspirational purposes. We should be telling everyone, hey, watch at your own risk.
Right.
We're not teaching you anything. But
Correct.
that's just something I've just really been thinking about. Like maybe if they put that out there, people won't be using porn as such a learning tool. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and I think a lot of the conversations about what is sex that parents have to have with their kids is not only, if you believe in abstinence and that's the way that you want to go, then so be it. But if you're having an even more inclusive conversation about, okay, when it's that time, this is what it should be, and this is how you should think about your body, and share it in a healthy way with someone that you care about and who cares about you, and you're safe and all
Yes.
that.
Yes.
You do want to have conversations about what is healthy, safe sex.
Yes.
What is a sharing of affection that feels safe for both partners, and it's not something that you just saw on TV or
Right.
saw on social media, you thought it was
Right.
you're supposed to do that. That's not really what
Right.
happens. Or maybe that's something that you like, but the other person doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to cringe a little bit just thinking
Yes.
about the types of the conversations that we will be having more of.
Right.
But it's more complicated now, to parent these
Right.
kids and to think about what is a healthy sexual relationship, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Woo,
more
child, y'all
power
pray
to
for
you.
me.
Yeah, more power to, the parents. I
You're
am,
like, good luck.
yeah, good luck.
No, that's
I am
why you're here.
here.
You're gonna help
Yeah,
me. That's
I
why you're
am
here.
here to help if needed.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe that special people will pick to be parents because I can only imagine how that conversation is, especially when you have to get past your own biases and your own
Mm.
how you view, because these are your
Or
children.
trauma,
Your
that you've
own
gone through.
trauma. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Because that plays a bigger role than people like to really think and agree
Yeah.
with. So you want to try not to project your own fears as well. Like you don't, and I can just so many steps to having that talk. So I am here
Ooh.
to help if
Yeah.
possible. But salute,
Okay.
salute.
All right. I'm gonna be calling you soon.
Yeah,
Don't act funny when I
please.
call you and be like,
And
well,
won't
we already do that. Like, JB,
talk
talk to your girl. Like,
to
I
your
can't,
girl. Talk to your girl, and I always be like,
come on, come on.
"Come on, let me talk to you real quick. We just want to drop some
Talk to your girl,
knowledge
JB.
on you. Yeah, y'all good for that. Talk to your girl, and I sure do. I sure do. That's my girl, my ace.
I love having folks like you around. You, Kim, the whole Breathe Studio
Oh, thank you.
family, Mr. Otto. I love having trusted individuals that I have that are part of the team, the
Yes.
family, so that if I feel uncomfortable or if my child feels uncomfortable bringing something to me, hopefully she'll have that conversation with other trusted individuals in our circle. So I really appreciate
Yeah.
having you all around
And
like
thank
that. Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
including us in your village. I do feel
Absolutely. You gotta
like,
have a village. It takes a whole
yeah,
village.
and I'm fine with
Yes.
being a part of people's
Yes.
village. Trust me.
Hey, Bannerman. The Bannermans are here. Hey, Bannerman's family. How y'all doing? Yes, yes. Oh, I got one more trivia for the crowd. So what did we do? We identified chlamydia as the number one, the
Mhm.
OG STI, still out here running
STI
things,
out here
number one.
rampant.
Number two, monkeypox is one of the new kids on the block when it comes to STI. So yet another thing you got to protect yourself from. Thankfully,
Mhm.
there's a vaccine, and hopefully the conversation surrounding who is at risk and who transmit infections with monkeypox. Hopefully, that is becoming more destigmatized as time
Right.
goes on. Number three, we started out the South, definitely for being number one.
Of
But what
course.
state? Do y'all know what state is number one in terms of STIs between the years of like 2020 and 23? Throw out what's the number one state. What state is number one? You don't want to be number one for this
No,
reason.
you do
But
not want to
they
be
are
number one.
number one.
No, put that down. You don't want to be number one for this reason. No, no.
While they are thinking about that, tell me, so outside of the courses that you want to do, somebody said Georgia. Nope. Texas. Nope. That's not it. Well, let's see. The answer is starting to come in now.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. MS.
Is
Is
that
that
Mississippi?
Missouri? Is
Is
that
that Miss?
Mississippi
Is that Mississippi?
or Missouri or
Or
Missouri? Which
Missouri?
one is that? Rick Sminer says, Jesus, imagine telling a partner you got the monkeypox. I know, right? I
Yeah,
know it.
yeah. I can imagine.
Monkeypox.
Like that's wow.
All right. T Renee 11 says, yes. I'm going to assume. Yep. And your sister agrees.
Mississippi.
MISS.
Okay. Humpback.
ISS.
Humpback.
Happy humpback.
Too many humpbacks. That's why.
Number one. They're number one, y'all.
Listen,
The valley, the delta.
the
Yes.
Delta down in the valley. Y'all know the song.
What a girl.
Where the
Okay.
girls are entertaining.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is, Mississippi. Get it together.
Get it together.
Get it together. Get your
Get some
bodies
business
together.
about you.
I think
Okay, come
they
on.
may be the number one. I think they may be number one in obesity as well.
Mm.
They got some work to do.
I got
They got
some
some
work
work
to
to do.
do.
Mm.
See, education. They gotta get educated down there.
Me
Gotta
too.
get
Protect yourself.
educated. Protect yourself.
So one more thing. So you will now be our sexual health expert when it comes to doing 6-week courses in schools and
No,
classrooms.
that's the goal.
What other types of things are you looking to do? Are you trying to do workshops? Are you trying to are you going to start a podcast? What are you going to do?
So no to the podcast. That's not
Why?
my that's not my ministry.
Such a
I would
ministry. Okay,
rather
that's
be
fine.
I would rather be like a guest on other people's podcasts. That was kind of
Good.
what I want to do. But
Okay.
definitely a workshop. Maybe my biggest goal is to get in at North Carolina Sex Conference. Maybe talking
Ah.
about like blacks and kink or trauma. I'm sorry, pleasure after trauma. Like
Mm,
basically regaining autonomy over your body after it has in some kind of way been taken.
yeah.
Um, so anything like that, or just talking like this, this really does my soul good to just, again, not gatekeep. Like I said, I wanted to start in the school system. Okay, that didn't work the way I wanted to. All right, we're going to come back to the drawing board and just regroup.
Okay.
But definitely chats and panels and all that kind of stuff. I am open to do all of those things. So yeah,
Awesome.
those
Awesome.
are my
Are
goals.
you doing any writing?
Am I?
Are you
More
planning
so,
to?
I am planning to. I am planning to. More so, my writing right now is all over the place in my journal. But I think that's a good place to be. I am leaning into the all over the place and the weird. I am leaning into that, in 2024. So
Hmm.
just trying to figure out, is this going to be my own like journey with sex and sexual health and education and all that kind of stuff? But not 1,000% sure yet. Just
Okay.
haven't pinpointed it.
Okay. I'm not gonna freak you out, but I do see a book there. Sorry. A book,
See?
I think, is next.
Hey, look at you.
I already forced you to publish before. You
Right,
remember that?
right. Maybe I just get a ghostwriter. Get a ghostwriter.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe I do
Here's
that.
my journal, here's my diary. Now go put it in
Yeah,
book
go put it
form.
together.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, go do that.
All right, let's
Yeah.
talk. Let's talk.
Yes, let's, please.
Well, I love it. The topics that you bring up, we could talk about for hours and hours on end. And so I think, even though you don't necessarily want to do a podcast, y'all reach out to JB and ask her to be on your podcast, on your panel, on your Instagram live. She might even try, you might even do your own Instagram live series
Mm-hmm.
on all the topics that you talked about, just little brief little snippets.
Right.
Because all the things that you brought up can be conversations that you could have for hours. So I love that you are now in this realm of work. I think it flows very organically and naturally from the stuff that you've already been doing with dance, with being creative, with helping to raise these young women and being in the community that you serve. I think it's just a natural progression for you. So I'm really proud of you for
Thank
stepping
you.
out and doing these things.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Doc. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Well, please tell folks if they need to get in touch with you and invite you and hire you for things, how to get in touch with
Yes.
you. What's the best way?
So my Instagram is itsjess_sex, and the Jess is JESS, of course, for Jessica. So follow me on social media, as well as if you want to hit me on the email, it's itsjustsex@gmail.com.
Perfect. 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 All right. She is, again, one of the phenomenal owners of Breathe Studio. We stand for her. She's a part of our circle, part of our family, and JB always comes through. We need to come through. So y'all holla at her when you need her for multiple
Yes,
things.
please do.
All right. Yes,
Yes.
we're getting hearts and fire
Oh,
emojis. Yay.
thanks, everyone.
Yes. All right, love. Well, any parting words? You have any final words for the folks?
Stay safe, drink your
Stay safe.
water, and mind your business.
Hydrate, moisturize, and
Do
mind
all
your
the
business.
things
I
and
love it.
mind your business. Like, that's the way of life.
It is. Yes, use condoms, please. Be safe, be safe. And go
Yes.
and get your checkups.
And go
Get your
and get
checkups.
them checkups,
Yes.
please.
All right. Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much, JB. I
Thank you for
loved
having
having you
me.
on. Absolutely. If y'all are free and around on Monday, I'll be talking about IUDs, your Morenas, your
Mhm.
Skylas, all those good things. And hopefully how to have less painful experiences with them. I'm going to try to go back in the, 2
Come
years
on.
ago when I was the only one doing IUDs in clinic.
Yes.
And thankfully, I got pretty good reports, pretty
Good.
good feedback, positive feedback that I wasn't, hurting people
Hurting folk.
to death, right? So I got to remember that stuff so I can share with y'all so that y'all can talk to your doctor
Yeah.
about that stuff when you go and get your IUD. So I'll be sharing a lot of that info. We'll kind of do a lunch and learn on Monday. So y'all come back and I'll see y'all then. But in the meantime, be safe. We love y'all
All right.
and we'll talk to you soon. Bye,
Peace.
Jables.